Good Sunday evening, everybody, and welcome into the Rocky Top Rewind presented by the great people, our friends over at Spivey King and Spivey LLP. If you got a problem, let them find a solution for you. T. Trout Lawyers, that phone number for a free consultation if you have the need. It's on the screen right now, 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185. That is Spivey King and Spivey LLP. Again, this is the Rocky Top Rewind every Sunday night during football season, except on the bye week. So, programming note this time next week, since Tennessee has no game, we will not be doing a Rocky Top Rewind, but we're going to be here through the next hour talking about the game. Tennessee a 41-34 overtime win on the road at Mississippi State. We'll take your questions over the next hour, so go ahead and send those in. We'll bookmark them, and we'll just kind of hang out here for the next hour or so. I'm Eric Kane. Brent Hubbs joining me as always, and Brent, is one of those games, right, where certainly Tennessee did not play to its best of its ability. It's hard to do that on the road in this league. You never apologize for winning on the road in this league. Tennessee finds a way, and that's the big thing, right? Tennessee so many times at Arkansas, South Carolina, Florida, you name it, South Carolina 22, couldn't find a way to win. Tennessee found a way to win, and Tennessee got scores on defense. Tennessee, was really good there in the fourth quarter on that drive to tie things up. Tennessee found a way to win, and Tennessee is 4-1 heading to the bye week instead of 3-2, and that put a real damper on the next 2 weeks, if so.
Yeah, you had to win that game. Is the bottom line. I mean, you couldn't lose that one. You just whatever means necessary, you had to find a way to win it. And to Tennessee's credit, that they did. Now, as I wrote in 10 things, I think I learned this afternoon what might have been in this game if you execute a few of the little things the right way. That might have been a blowout. You know what I'm saying? It seems. It could have been. There's a lot about what could have been. Now, give credit for what they turned it into, and that was finding a way to win. And there was plenty of good, and we're going to dive into that. But there's also some things that you can look at and you say, hey, there's a lot more meat on that bone if you do some of the little things the right way. And then there's some kind of bigger picture things that I think Tennessee has to address in this open date, particularly when it comes. When it comes to running the football and defending the run, I think there's some things that you got to get done as well. So again, I give credit to this team's resolve and their character. I think they're competitive as crap. Maybe the most competitive group of guys Josh Heupel's had in his program collectively. But they've got to play better. They've got to do some things better if they're going to have a chance to be where they want to be at the end of this next 4-game stretch, which is going to be a really difficult stretch of games coming up. You've got the unknowns now with Arkansas, with Sam Pittman being let go. You've got Alabama. You've got a trip to Kentucky, and then you've got Oklahoma. And that's a pretty tall task in front of you that you got to go out and play well for sure.
Yeah, no doubt. Want to start with some positives, right?
Sure.
And there's plenty of negatives, but there were some positives too. And again, like, you give Tennessee credit for going out there and making some plays defensively. Did not defend the run very well through 3 quarters. Fourth quarter and overtime, it did. I think it combined 28 yards in the fourth quarter and in overtime, giving up on the ground after giving up well over 100 in the first 3 quarters. I mean, Fluff Bothwell, as we talked about on this show last week, a load. A really good player. Tennessee missed a lot of tackles. Tennessee couldn't handle him. So they buckled that down late. Tennessee obviously scored 2 touchdowns defensively. I mean, that was paramount. That was just huge in a game like this. A pick 6 for Colton Hood, his 2nd touchdown of the year, right? He's got more touchdowns than some of Tennessee's skill players. And then you had the scoop and score Joshua Josephs on the sack from Tyree West. I thought that was big. Let's start, though, with that drive there in the fourth quarter. Tennessee marches down the field, 13 plays, 75 yards, taking 6 minutes and 4 seconds off the clock, and Tennessee ties the football game at 34-all. Joey Aguilar, which I think you mentioned in your day after, he was 1 of 6, maybe an interception there in the fourth quarter, but on that drive, man, he was 6 for 6, 54 yards. Of course, he scored the game-tying touchdown on the ground. Big-time throws. The Chris Brazel 4th down reception on the ball that was behind him, incredible play. Braylon Staley's effort on the 3rd and 7 or whatever to catch the ball and then fight to the sticks on a day that he would like to forget probably, but that was a great play. And then the blocking there on the touchdown run, they went 12 personnel, 2 tight ends as H-backs in the backfield. David Sanders, who was in the ball game, blocked the linebacker. You had Kitselman that blocked the end man on the line of scrimmage. Van Dorselaer blocked the linebacker. Deshaun Bishop led the way. He blocked a defensive back, and Joey Aguilar was into the not the checkerboard, into the end zone there. And just a drive that you had to have. Tennessee got it done, and I thought that was some big boy football on that drive, milking the clock, but scored a touchdown, tying the ball game, putting yourself in position to go to overtime, have a chance to get the football back, and try to go win that football game.
Yeah, I mean, and look, there were coaches say it all the time. It takes all 11, right? Everybody's got to go execute and go do their job. Now that's a little bit rhetoric because you can screw up something on the backside of a play offensively and still have a very productive play. But it took everybody in that drive, and Brazel's catch was a really good catch when the ball was behind him. The ball was a little bit behind him because Joey Aguilar had to move and use his feet to sidestep to get a lane to throw the football because there was some pressure coming at him. I mean, everybody did their job. Was it perfect? No, but it was executed well. And that was a drive where you had to have – it had to get done. And Joey Aguilar didn't flinch in the moment, and his teammates followed his lead. So, I mean, it was a tremendous drive. And I thought Tennessee's defensive adjustments in the fourth quarter, they started finally playing the edge on the run better. But you're right, that drive is kind of that defining moment deal, right? It was like, all right, Joey Aguilar, let's go see if you can get it done on the road in the SEC. And he did. He didn't flinch, and he got help around him. Again, you mentioned Staley's effort and Brazel's effort. I love the play call at the goal line with the single wing look. I mean, I love what they did right there. I thought that was a terrific wrinkle on something we haven't seen. I'm a little surprised Aguilar's legs haven't been a little more of a factor. But
that's where you want them to be a factor. They did
exactly
that
right.
a little bit with Nico in years past, but you saw it against Syracuse, saw it against Georgia, and saw it here. Like, you get down in there inside the 10, let it rip and go, and I'm glad they called it that way.
Yeah, they did. And again, I think I'm going to be really interested to see what Mississippi State looks like this week against A&M because that was a physical game Saturday. They may be too beat up. That's a better Mississippi State team. Tennessee's better than Mississippi State, but that Mississippi State team is better than they were a year ago, and there were multiple moments where that thing could have got away from Tennessee. After the fake punt, Tennessee didn't let it get away. So then you get the ball in your hands. You've got to go score. And Tennessee executes as well as they've executed all day long, had a lengthy drive, which they hadn't really had all day long. And they went and got it done. So that was the offensive moment of the game, was what they did in that drive right there. And it was impressive for sure.
And then you go to overtime, and it's kind of like Tennessee had no momentum going into overtime, right? You tie the game. Defense comes out. They throw it 3 times. They take no time off the clock. And we can talk about clock management in a moment, but because I think that the defensive series against Mississippi State probably played a hand into why Heupel did what he did at the end of regulation. But that drive, 30 yards, 7 plays, whatever, 3 timeouts, only used one of them. You go to overtime, you lose the coin toss. You're out there on offense first, and it's like, okay, well, here we go. And then Deshaun Bishop takes it to the house on play 1, 25 yards. And again, you had Van Dorselaer in there, 12 personnel. He has the block. It's one-on-one. Bishop against the linebacker. Bishop won. He won his one-on-one battle into the end zone. And obviously, from there, you knew that, for this game to extend, Mississippi State had to score a touchdown. Tennessee put all the pressure on Mississippi State. They had nothing to counter. They had one play in the overtime period, and then it was 1st and goal from the 5, and Tennessee stopped them on 4 straight plays. What a finish to this football game. Again, it was ugly. It was sloppy. Tennessee made so many mistakes, and we'll highlight some. But in crunch time, as you pointed out, I mean, that was the offensive series of the game there to tie it, and then an offense to go out there and get it and then make some stops. Hats off to Tennessee for getting that win on the road, because it's never easy to win on the road in this league.
No, I mean, I thought Tennessee's maturity, the fact they were in an overtime game 2 weeks ago, probably helped them some. I thought the moment felt a little big for Mississippi State, to be frank with you. They got down to the 1st and goal at the 5, and I thought they got discombobulated a little bit. First down play didn't go real well, and then all of a sudden Here you are. I'm surprised Levy didn't take a timeout before the fourth down play just to, hey, let's run our best right here. Let's run whatever our best 2-point play is. Let's run it right here. Whatever. Like, I didn't, I thought Tennessee handled that moment much better than Mississippi State did. And again, I mean, that was everybody executed on offense the way that you were supposed to. That's blocked up to get one-on-one. And can your running back make somebody miss? And Deshaun Bishop made somebody miss there. So that's what you wanted. I mean, the last two scoring plays are enough for me to say, let's see some more Jack Van Dorselaer.
Yeah.
Let's get him on the field more than 7 snaps. Let's play him more than what he played. And don't just play him in 2 tight end sets. Spell Kitzelman. Kitzelman's playing too many snaps. I like what you saw out of Van Dorselaer. I really do. I think he's ready to help you out and move forward there. So, again, winning on the road in this league is really hard. And Tennessee found a way. I thought Tennessee they made mistakes, but I thought they played with a decent amount of maturity. I didn't think the crowd really got to them. And they went out and Mississippi State's still trying to get over that hump, right? They're in close games and they're trying to figure out a way to win. And Tennessee had won enough close games that probably helped them. They lost one earlier this year and they found a way to finish that one. So that's a huge win, not because you beat a great team. That's a huge win because that was a game that you could have lost on the road. It would have been a devastating loss to do that. And Tennessee found a way, unlike Arkansas a year ago when they couldn't find a way. Unlike South Carolina when they couldn't find a way, Tennessee found a way, which says something about what this team's made of.
Yeah, and again, that was kind of what we were talking about a lot on the post-game podcast last night. It was so many times you've been in this situation where you don't have your fastball or there's a big injury or you're getting dominated in this phase of the game and you just can't quite figure out how to get past it or move past it or whatever. And that game just sums up all that and more, that this team found a way to overcome all those issues and win a football game. You mentioned Jack Van Dorselaer, like Miles Kitzelman. I know you've been beating this drum for a while. 73 snaps, that's too many. Jack Van Dorselaer, I was shocked, to be honest with you, when I saw his snap count. You mentioned 7. Pro Football Focus has knocked it down to 6 snaps. But man, you talk about it's like Jaden Harmon against UAB or one of those games earlier, like limited snaps making a major impact. Those blocks, again, on the touchdown run for Joey Aguilar, on the touchdown run for Deshaun Bishop. I mean, Van Dorselaer sprung them both. I mean, I'm with you. See more of Van Dorselaer, less of Miles Kitzelman. Not because Miles Kitzelman isn't good, it's just he's playing too much, keep him fresh, and maybe that'll benefit him later in the second half. So the 7 snaps, I was shocked when I saw that today on Pro Football Focus because it felt like I saw him in there more, but I guess, it was they're not running as much 12 personnel this year, and obviously Ethan Davis didn't play, so that has a hand in it as well.
Well, and I think that Van Dorselaer is to the point that they don't have to be in 12 personnel to get him on the field, and I think that's the point you're making there. So, is he ready to play 45 snaps a game or anything? No, but listen, he can give you a series. He can give you a couple of series in what you're asking him to do. So I think that was a big time moment for Jack Van Dorselaer, and he answered the bell well, executed those 2 plays we're talking about really well. I think because of that, in an open date, I think we're going to see and should see more of Jack Van Dorselaer here coming up with the Arkansas game and beyond.
Chandler chimes in with the super chat of $19. Chandler, we thank you so much for that. Really appreciate it. He says, "Go Vols, nice win. We lose this game pre-Heupel. We need to enjoy these road wins. How often in recent decades has our talent covered so many mistakes? It's what good teams do. Enjoy the content. Keep it up. Keep up the great work." Thank you so much, Chandler. And he's right. I talked about it I wrote about it today. I know you did as well. Special teams was anything but. Not very special. Of course, you had the mishaps with the punt returns, muffing that one that led to a touchdown, allowing one roll all the way to the 1-yard line. You missed a field goal that clearly he can make. You allowed a fake punt to convert on 4th down. Special teams got dominated. Special teams got whipped. And how often can you get whipped in one phase of the game and be able to overcome that on the road in this league? And to Chandler's point, not many times. Tennessee's got some serious talent. And again, goes back to find some ways to win.
Yeah, let's just stick with special teams specifically here for a second. I don't. Somebody's going to ask this question. I don't know the rationale for not having Boo Carter back there for the first punt return. Josh Heupel danced around that answer, as much as he could, and really didn't say anything about it when asked about it post game. It didn't work. Okay, Brother Staley, who I'm a big fan of, didn't play. I mean, he's not comfortable back there. So that one I don't understand. The other one I don't understand is I don't understand why every team should always be in punt safe when the ball's at the 40-yard line or closer in, because when you're not going to get a punt return. I mean, unless the guy just shanks it or kicks it low. I mean, how many people from the 40 or 45-yard line are going to kick the ball and give you a real opportunity to return it? They're kicking that thing high and fair catching that deal. So it was, I mean, to me, you got to be in punt safe there. Tennessee was not prepared or not ready for that fake punt at all. So again, there were some things that Tennessee has to play smarter. They have to be better. They have to execute some things better. As Josh Heupel told me post game, it's all of us. It's not just players, like coaches. Everybody's got to do things better, and you got to learn from that one. And you're very, very happy with the win. You fought your way to get it. You never ignore it. You don't say it's a bad win. There's no such thing, but you got to learn from it. And I think that's Tennessee's challenge: grow from it. You want to get better every game. You want to continue to grow, and there's plenty for Tennessee to be pleased with, and there's plenty of things for Tennessee to learn and grow from in that win yesterday.
Let's talk about the clock management there in the fourth quarter, the final drive. You get the football back at your I've got it written down somewhere, at your own 26, I think. 1:23 is on the clock. You have 3 timeouts, and you run a play, get a couple yards, and then you let that thing roll down, and you snap it at 9 seconds. Okay, so let's start there. Do you think the way Mississippi State went 3 and out, 3 incompletions, didn't take any time off the clock whatsoever? I mean, it feels like that was a pretty big driving force into, at least milking some clock to make sure that you weren't getting the football right back to Mississippi State with a chance to go win it.
Yeah, I mean, let's start with State's drive first of all, and this is where sometimes I get a little bit of a chuckle at coaches who were making all this money and they've got 9,000 people on the sideline to help them do everything. What's State doing not running the football in one of those 3 plays with 1:55 to go and 3 timeouts? Because if you're State, your thought process there to me is, I'm going to end this game with the ball in my hand or field goal going through the uprights. And I've got 1:55 and 3 timeouts to figure out the best way to get there. What's the best thing State did against Tennessee on Saturday? Run the football.
Mm-hmm.
So I didn't understand State's philosophy with 1:55 to go, first of all. Now, I'm not a Mississippi State fan, and I don't cover Mississippi State, so we won't dive into that more. But, I mean, that was a head-scratcher by Jeff Lebby. So then it goes back to Tennessee. You lost 16 seconds on the punt. So that takes you down to 1:23, I think, to start that drive.
Yep.
And Mississippi State still got 3 timeouts. You don't want to punt it backed up. You don't want to go quick 3 and out. So you decide to let the play clock run down there for about 30 seconds or whatever it wanted them to. I think there was about 30 seconds they let run off the clock there. That made it feel like they were playing for overtime. Then you hit the play to Kitzelman, right? I don't have play-by-play in front of me. 17 yards.
Yes.
That takes you essentially almost to midfield.
13 yards up to the 42, so okay, 42. Almost to midfield.
Yeah. So then you call the timeout, right? At that play, after that play?
No, Joey scrambles the next play, then you call a timeout.
Okay.
So Aguilar scrambles for 9 yards up past midfield to the 49, Mississippi State's 49. He stays in bounds. At the time, I'm like, get out of bounds, but you do have 3 timeouts. They call a timeout there with 24 seconds on the clock, and it's 2nd and 1 from the 49 after the timeout.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, I think I need to get to play-by-play in front of me.
And then that's where they took their shot. Yeah, I'll talk while you look at the plays. It's 2nd and 1 from the 49, coming out of the timeout. You have 22 seconds left. That's when they took the shot down the field. And it was a good play call. It was a really good pass breakup by the Mississippi State defensive back. So they took a shot down the field to Braylon Staley. Manning's who got his hand in there, broke it apart, okay? So that was their shot. 3rd and 1, got to get a first down, right? So they run it with Deshaun Bishop. And here's where my big question is, Brent. They run it with Deshaun Bishop, gain of 5 to the 44-yard line, and it's a first down. Clock stops as they move the chains, but I'm like, okay, well, they'll call a timeout anyway. They'll spike it. No, they just keep going, and they just keep going, and then it's Joey Aguilar, incomplete pass, and after that incomplete pass, there's 4 seconds left, and then now the only thing you can do is throw a Hail Mary. So I thought, no matter what, a timeout should have been called, at the very least just to reset and talk about things after the first down that Deshaun Bishop got up to the 44.
Yeah, I mean, I think that you've got to sit there and do that. I mean, I think the other play that, I mean, the scramble probably didn't help you. You killed some time there with that. But yeah, I mean, I think you should call the timeout at that point and give yourself a chance. Once you get the first down, call the timeout and go from there. Again, I mean, I know what Josh Heupel said. I mean, they theoretically didn't lose that many seconds, but you're not taking that thing to the house. I mean, there's no point taking those timeouts in your pocket. So, I didn't think that. I just call a timeout there and make sure you're good to go. Much like I'm sitting here talking about Levy should have taken the timeout before the 4th down play in overtime. Yeah. Just take the timeout and get yourself situated. Mm-hmm. Get settled. Everybody catch their breath. They're not going to change the way they defend you. You're not giving them an advantage. It would be different if you had them in bad personnel and you felt like you had some advantage because you weren't subbing there. But it didn't matter. So I didn't. I would have called the timeout. I don't think ultimately you would have gotten anywhere. I think there's the 2 plays in that sequence that I think really hurt you, because even with the timeout, you're getting, I mean, you get maybe one more play in, which could get you into field goal range. I get that. But you lost so much time on the punt return. Like that, you can't dance there. Like, get what you can get and get the play over with. And then the Aguilar scramble cost you too much time as well. You're better to throw that ball away and get 2 more plays out of that than to scramble for the 9 yards that you got. But yeah, call the timeout there, because what's it going to hurt you? I don't know that you win if you get the time, if you take the timeout, but I don't see the point in keeping it in your pocket just because you think you got to play ready, unless it's something special. You call the timeout there, because I don't think there's an advantage to you for not taking the timeout.
Yeah, and Heupel said that because Austin asked the question specifically after the 3rd-and-1 run by Bishop, why no timeout there? And he said, well, we had 2 play calls. We were just ready to go. Again, it didn't work out, but again, at the minimum, like, call a timeout, then get your next 2 plays called and get ready to go. Shoulda, coulda, woulda is what it is. I don't think that was handled very well. Obviously, Tennessee won the game. It's still a talking point because we're talking about it right now.
Sure.
Tennessee won the football game. That's what's most important. But I thought that was a very weird sequence. I asked him about right before the half, and I don't think I would have went about it this way, but I totally get where he's coming from. I mean, Mississippi State had it on their own side of the field. It was 4th and 2. Vols had a timeout, and State just let it go all the way down, and they wasted 40 seconds. And so I asked Josh Heupel, why didn't you call a timeout there, forcing a punt? That way you have a couple shots. And he essentially said, he didn't want to give them another opportunity to think about going for 4th on 4th, and I don't think they would because they were on like their own 30-something. But he didn't want to give them an opportunity to think about it. And at that point, I mean, he pretty much said, hey, we were content with going in the locker room knowing we get the football back. Our defense has been on the field a ton. I get it. That's fine. I think that's good reasoning. I that one sits better with me than the end of the regulation. So any way you want to spend it, though, I think that there was it just looked kind of weird. And again, thankfully, Tennessee was able to win in overtime, so this is kind of a moot point. But it is something that is curious in the very least.
Yeah, because, I mean, there's been some moments where you felt like they didn't manage the clock particularly well. Then there's been some other moments where I think they've done a great job. Like in the Georgia game, I mean, they used the run game to get themselves in a position to kick the field goal. They actually managed the clock pretty well at that point. So there's times where it's been good, and then there's times where it's been, wait a minute, this seems a little bit. I mean, what does it hurt you to call the timeout there and just say, okay, guys, here's our two plays. What do you like here? What do we think we can get here? Let's see if we can't steal 15 yards somewhere and have a chance to kick a field goal. I don't think it hurts you, but it doesn't matter if you, it's a talking point, but it's now a talking point of debate that doesn't matter because you win the game. But if you don't win the game, then holy smokes. But
yeah, I know. And remember, in years past, there was a game at Kentucky right before the half. I think it was 2021. 17 seconds. Tennessee got the ball back, kicked a field goal heading into the half. Alabama, somewhere around 20 seconds or whatever. I'm not sure if Tennessee had timeouts, but went for the win and won the football game. So like there have been situations where, man, they've gone after it and it's succeeded. That one certainly wasn't one of them. Dustin chiming in here with the super chat again. We really appreciate it. 1999. I noticed we do well containing the edges with passes to the flat, but often get beat on the edges and run plays. Example, Georgia's big run in overtime. What's the difference? Just bad angles, tackling? That specific play, man, Georgia in overtime, a really bad angle from a linebacker. That was pretty bad. But for as good as Tennessee's been on the edges, and boy, have they been great getting after the quarterback. Tyree West, Joshua Josephs, Caleb Herring. Thought Jordan Ross has been playing well too. Setting the edge, not just those guys, linebackers coming down, McMurray, those corners, setting the edge. When we say setting the edge, that is forcing everything back inside to where you have help. Tennessee's not done that well enough in the run game, and it's a big reason why Bothwell got 140 yards or whatever yesterday, is giving up the edge.
Well, you go back and look at the Georgia game. Georgia had over 90 yards rushing outside the tackles, right and left. And yesterday, Mississippi State had 98 yards, I think, rushing outside the tackles. Tennessee's got to do a much better job of that. They cannot let the ball get out there. They got to funnel it back into where your help is. You've got to square your shoulders and set the edge if that's your job as a defensive lineman. If you're wrapping as a linebacker, you got to wrap at the right angle, man. You can't be late. You can't get out leveraged there and give up the corner. Tennessee's edge was just too soft. That was too soft of a corner, too easy for the backs to get the edge. They got much better at it in the fourth quarter and did a much better job forcing it back into the line of scrimmage where your help was. That's somewhere where those Leos have to continue to grow and play in the run. When you're talking about Jordan Ross and Caleb Herring, I think Joshua Joseph plays it pretty well, but I think those other two guys have got to continue to work at not taking the path of least resistance, because that tackle wants you to go inside.
Mm-hmm.
And if he's, you got to recognize if he's letting me freely get in there, that means I'm probably in trouble. You got to play responsibilities better. That they did that better down the stretch, but it was certainly a problem in the first half, and it was a continued problem in the third quarter until they really got some of it addressed. And that William Inge is a pretty low key guy. That's as animated as I've seen him in that game. I mean, he was crawling on the sideline, man. He was crawling all up in some linebackers, because I don't think all this was on the edge guys on the defensive line. I think there was some really bad fits by the linebackers. They tweaked some stuff and adjusted it to where it helped it a little bit, but both those guys, both the front and the linebackers, have to play a lot better in the edge, because here's the thing. Think about what's coming, Eric. Arkansas in 2 weeks. What's that quarterback like to do?
Likes to run.
Where does he like to run?
Outside.
What does Oklahoma do with their quarterback?
He likes to run. He likes to run all over the place if he's healthy.
Yeah. What did Ty Simpson show you last night between the hedges?
Yeah, he can run.
Run. Tennessee's got to do a better job of containing those edges and not letting guys get squirt out there or get too far up. I mean, that's going to be a big point of emphasis in 3 of the next 4 opponents that Tennessee plays. They're going to have to do a really good job at the edge, continuing to pressure the quarterback, but not take themselves out of the play from a leverage standpoint by just pinning their ears back and going. You can't freelance. You better play responsibilities. That'll be something they have to work on a lot starting this week in practice.
Yeah, if you're an in man on the line of scrimmage and that tackle or tight end gets the paws on you and is taking you inside, that's called a wash, right? Like there's as you point out, there's a reason they are taking you. You got to squeeze it and got to fight back and allow help to kind of get in there. Questions here. We're going to take a couple questions. This is from
Sure.
Brian. It said, is Spillman now running with Carter at linebacker? We're talking about linebackers. That's how they ended the game. Arion Carter, not 100%. This bye week's going to be big for him. 17 tackles, played and a huge pass breakup, heads up play there on fourth down, right? 65 snaps yesterday. You have Edwin Spillman, who played 48, and you have Jeremiah Thielander, who played 40. I look at, and that's why I think everybody gets, not Brian specifically, but just in general, everybody gets so caught up in starter, second string starter, like Star Thomas, Deshaun Bishop. They're both going to play. Like I consider Edwin Spillman a starting linebacker. He's just the first off the bench because, again, as we just pointed out, he plays more snaps, or he played more snaps than Jeremiah Thielander did. I think they can mix and match some combinations. I thought it was interesting that we saw Jaden Harmon not at all, but we saw Jordan Burns for 13 snaps at linebacker after not seeing him the first couple of weeks at all. Ben Bolton played 8 snaps. He's played a little, but Jordan Burns was the surprising one to me. But anyway, I view Spillman as a starting linebacker with Carter and Thielander, and they can mix and match Mike and Will in there, but obviously Spillman's a big part of what they do.
Well, and let's face it, I mean, Spillman's better, more athletic, can get sideline to sideline better than Thielander can. Did they feel like they needed to do that because of some of the rush stuff that Mississippi State was doing? Maybe, I thought Spillman flashed. I thought at times he played well. I thought at other times he got himself into some trouble. But I think he's continuing to come on, and I think that rotation is going to continue like that pretty heavily at the linebacker spot. So I think you're going to continue to see plenty of Spillman. You're going to get some Thielander as well, Eric. I mean, they're going to play interchangeable parts there because what you really don't want to do is you don't want to play a linebacker 70 snaps in a game. Is what you're trying to avoid. But Arion Carter may have to play a bunch of those snaps, but certainly you're not going to do that with Thielander and with Spillman. You're going to rotate those guys there. The Burns one is, I mean, he had not played in a Power 4 game.
Yeah.
He played more snaps yesterday than he had played combined in the first 4 games, and that includes mop-up duty against ETSU and UAB. So if you had Burns on your bingo card to play, go to Vegas because, I mean, William Inge said a week ago at a press conference, I should have played Jaden Harmon in the Georgia game. I mean, was Bothwell's size a problem for him? I don't know. I mean, listen, Jordan Burns is extremely athletic, and I'm not saying he can't play. That was just wow. Where does that come from? Because that's a guy who we had talked about, Eric, even on this show. You talked about. We all thought that we would see him some early in the year. And he had just been a non-factor. And then yesterday, hey, man, we're on the road in the SEC. It's loud. You haven't played. Go in there and give us 13 snaps and see what happens. Like, it was a head-scratching substitution for sure.
It was interesting. I'm looking at the defensive side on Pro Football Focus, and I'll rewatch the game. And Grant Ramey's the best. He's like dad on these road trips. He drives. AP and I just sit back and do whatever. He watches reels. I watch the game on the way home today. I didn't notice Jaden Harmon playing at all yesterday. Pro Football Focus says he got 1 snap, but he said a lot of these other guys got 1 snap as well. Those are probably special team snaps that just made their way in here. Another good question here from Josh, and this one's interesting because Josh says this: Do you guys see any other options at safety? Cross train corners, anyone that can help? What do you think about Spillman with more snaps to see? Okay, so we covered that one. They always talk about cross training in the back end. That's a spring practice topic. That's a fall camp topic. Obviously, we know that McMurray cross trains. He's yet to play corner, big time this year, but we know he can. Caleb Beasley moved from corner to safety. I don't see any, like say McCoy gets back and they want to move Redmond to safety. I don't see any of that happening. Do you? Is there anybody else that we're not talking about that can find their way into that rotation at safety? Right now, I don't think so. Why? Well, because Caleb Beasley and Sidney Walton both played 8 snaps yesterday. So they got a series or 2 or whatever, but it was mainly, again, Farouk and Turrentine that played 80-plus snaps. Do you see anybody breaking in there that might be at another position right now? Because right now in the season, I don't.
No, I don't. Where they're at, right? I mean, if there's anybody, it's going to be Walton. Sidney Walton continued to develop. or Caleb Beasley. I mean, I don't. They're not moving Jalen McMurray to safety. There's no other corners. I mean, William Wright's not going to play safety. Uh, there's nobody else that's got any experience that you would say, oh yeah, he would make sense to go back there. That's just not a reality from where they are. And that the safety position is, they're going to ask a lot of those guys, and we'll see if Walton can help them some more. I think they had real high expectations for Beasley. I'm not sure he's met those expectations yet at the safety spot, and that's probably why that rotation has become non-existent. And you're seeing Farouk and you're seeing Turrentine, and those two haven't played perfect either. I mean, Farouk's missed too many tackles.
Talk about angles. He's had some bad angles.
Yeah, he has, and they need better safety play than what they're getting right now. I just don't think there's any other options. Those two safeties just need to play better.
It is 9:36 Eastern Time. We got 24 minutes left in the show. Let's get some housekeeping in. I've been starring a lot of these questions. We're going to answer some questions on the other side. Let's get a word from our proud sponsors, presenting sponsors, and let's get a look at some of those highlights from Tennessee's win over Mississippi State in overtime, 41-34. Rewind is presented each and every week by our friends over at Spivey, King and Spivey, LLP, Matthew A. Spivey, J. Matt King, and Richard A. Spivey. If you've got a problem, you can let them find a solution for you. TN Trial Lawyers. They specialize in criminal defense, family law, personal injuries, examples of which could be DUI, divorce, custody, alimony, parental rights, personal injuries such as car wrecks. They have over 80 years of combined experience. Spivey, King, and Spivey, LLP provides representation throughout state and federal courts in Northeast Tennessee. The firm has a vast amount of trial experience. Practice has been in place for 43 years with this specific partnership since 2012. They have partners who are energized and ready for today's modern legal demands. They practice primarily in Northeast Tennessee, the Sullivan County, Tri-Cities, Hawkins County, Washington County, and surrounding areas. Whether you've been injured in a car accident, need help with a divorce, help with custody of your children, or have been accused of a crime, Spivey King Spivey, LLP, they can help you. Pick up the phone today for a free consultation. Dial this phone number, 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185, or check them out online at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. Spivey King and Spivey, presenting sponsors of the Rocky Top Rewind. We thank them, and they can certainly help you if you have a need. That is Spivey King and Spivey LLP. Check them out online as well. All right, I do want to give a shout out to our friends over at Game Time as well for helping the Rocky Top Rewind be what it is. This is an app that gives the advantage back to the fans, right? It's a hack for unlocking amazing tickets, experiences, in just a few taps. Incredibly easy to use. The Game Time guarantee, okay, one of the best features there, means that you'll trust that you're going to get 100% authentic tickets on time and at the best price. Plus, fees are always included, so what you see is what you get. Game Time for the sporting event in your area. Tennessee football game, basketball season's coming up, baseball coming up this spring. You can buy tickets to those events here at Tennessee or wherever you want to go watch a game on the Game Time app, or it's other events, right? Concerts, comedy shows. Typically, if there's events in the area that you live, you can find tickets to said events on the Game Time app. Priority fees are included. Again, what you see is what you get. You could see that they have views of your seats, so you know exactly what you're paying for. And they got the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. So download the Game app today, create an account, put in the redeem code ON3 for $20 off your first purchase. Again, terms apply. Create an account, put in the redeem code ON3, ON3, ON3 for $20 off. Swipe, tap, ticket, go. Download the Game Time app today. Welcome back into the Rocky Top Rewind. I am Eric Kane. Good work there on the camera from Matt Ray. A lot of good shots up there you can see on our YouTube channel, Volquest on YouTube. See the full highlights of yesterday's win. Tennessee over Mississippi State in overtime, 41-34. All right, Brent, let's get into some questions.
Okay.
Let's go right over here. I was really excited about getting this. Really isn't about the game, but I was really excited about getting to see Mississippi State. Hadn't been there yet. And got a question here saying thoughts on the stadium and atmosphere. Another great job Saturday, Mr. Hubs, GBO. For me, Brent, I want you to answer it because they've done, to my understanding, they've done a lot of renovations since the last time you guys were there. I thought the environment was awesome. The cowbells were super annoying. They were super loud. I thought the press box being open air was great. I thought the press box outside of that was not very much, but overall, the open airness, being out there, being able to feel the environment, the loudness, I was really impressed. I thought it was a really, really cool trip to Mississippi State, and it was loud. And obviously, the cowbells were deafening at times. But they've done some renovations, right? That north end zone, that stuff was the jumbotron and all that wasn't there last time you guys had a game at 2012. Was that?
Yeah, they've enclosed that in. You used to be able to see the water tower from the field there. They've enclosed that in, which has made it louder. I actually really like that campus overall. Mm-hmm. There's a ton of green space. There's some great buildings in it. It's a cool little town. It's a cool college deal. It gets a bad rap for being, cow pasture in the middle of nowhere. But I live kind of out in the country anyway, so I like that vibe. I think it's a cool campus. I think the cowbells are ridiculously annoying. And to the point that I told somebody this the other day, or earlier today, if I were a Mississippi State fan, I don't know how many home games I would go to. Because it's as annoying for a home fan as it is to the road team that comes in. It's this high-pitched roar hum that never goes away. It's like there's 100,000 cicadas that are all at the same time and they never stop. Most places it goes up and down, it gets really high on a big third down. This just kind of stays the whole time. And more than it being, and I thought Tennessee handled the noise well offensively yesterday. They had 2 false starts. Both of them were on 3rd and short. I don't think crowd was the reason why they jumped off sides there. I thought they communicated well offensively. They didn't have a whole lot of problems. They limited some of the shifts and the motion stuff, I think, to help manage the crowd. But overall, I thought they handled it fine. And I think you can handle it fine because it just becomes white noise at some point. It just becomes, it's there, but it's just like, okay, yeah, it's annoying. So I love the area. I love the stadium. I really do. I like it. It's small. It's quaint. The town's nice. The cowbells are ridiculously annoying for everybody, including the State fans. Half those kids are wearing NASCAR earmuffs, because it's just annoying loud for everybody. So, and my 4 ibuprofen worked well in the game. I got 2 pregame. I got 2 at the half, and that got me through the day.
As a father now, I think about these things like, how could you take a kid to a game like that, right? Especially like an infant, right? No way, you can't. You
got to put the earbuds on them, man. You got to put some headphones on them. But I can't imagine being a season ticket holder and my wife going, "Hey, I want to go to the game today." They'd be like, "That's the most annoying thing ever." Ben, I'm going to jump in here to your question. The SEC allows those. I don't know why. They think it's a tradition. It was banned for a while and it never really went away, but it's the league allows it. Now, if you want to get rid of them in the league, tell everybody in the league to start rattling those things. Because I promise you, if there's a stadium that's got 100,000 people in it and it's a good team and those things become a deal, then maybe they ban them. I just don't know that anybody wants to have them in their stadium because it's as annoying for the home crowd as it is the road crowd.
Yeah, places like Neyland Stadium, and that's no disrespect, but they don't need them, right? It's loud on its own. Obviously, Davis Wade is not as big. It's not as enclosed on both sides, and so it's capacity is nowhere near where some of these other stadiums are. So the cowbells are useful.
By the way, Packer would not have made it for 4 quarters down there. Mark Packer, chance. Who does the high school stuff here with you guys, he would not have made it 4 quarters.
He wouldn't be able to handle it. That's
he would
sure.
not have made it.
Could not fight through the adversity.
That's exactly right. All right.
Ryan wants to know thoughts on David Sanders' debut. I thought he looked good. He was definitely hyped up. So it's interesting. Again, on the rewatch, in the car for 4.5 hours this morning, so I rewatched the game. And And they were obviously, I mean, he's the main storyline, right? Making his debut, 5-star plus offensive tackle. Hadn't played yet for Tennessee, was expected to be a starter. So, I mean, there was a injury timeout for Jesse Perry, which, by the way, you're down there on the sideline. You can touch on this in a moment. I'm shocked that he came back in and played. I mean, they were helping him get off the field. But anyway, they were channeling in on David Sanders, and he was getting hyped up. He was taking some kick drops, and he goes in the huddle, and he smacks himself in the head a little bit, and he's ready to go. And what does Josh Heupel do? He pulls him, play number one. I love that. Pulls him, gets him to hit somebody. That's on the drive we were talking about. 13 plays, 75 yards, ties the game. He was in for 11 of those plays, 10 of those plays, and he does have a false start, which was bad. It was 3rd and 1 to 3rd and 6. Tennessee, I think that was the Staley catch. That's not great, but they ran right behind him into the end zone. Pro Football Focus said he graded out horribly. I thought that was about as good of a debut as you could possibly ask for, given the circumstances. Games on the line, late fourth quarter. He was definitely hyped up, and I thought he went in and did a good job. He had a really good block on that touchdown for Joey Aguilar.
Yeah, I mean, listen, there's a reason why he was one of the best 5 up until Wednesday of Syracuse week when he got hurt. Now, that was a hard place to put him into the game in, but I thought he handled it fine. The penalty was a bad penalty, but otherwise, I mean, he didn't look like he had any major bust or anything like that. I think you got a week to get him ready, week plus to get him ready here. And I think you start him. I mean, I think he's your starting right tackle against Arkansas, and you slide slide Jesse Perry inside the guard. And that's not a knock on Sham. I think Sham's done a good job, but they were your best 5 72 hours before you open the season. To me, they're still your best 5. And so I think we're going to see a lot of David Sanders. I think Tennessee wanted to get David Sanders in the game earlier. I don't think the game dictated it well enough, and so they elected to kind of ride with where they are. But now that he's got his feet wet in there, yeah, I mean, I think you're playing David Sanders. So
what's interesting, Austin was talking about during the game, if Tennessee could ever get a 10-point lead in this game, 7 to 10-point lead in this game, and force Mississippi State to drop back and throw it, but it was over because Tennessee was dominating the pass rush, right? But Tennessee could never kind of get it in that area code to kind of tee off and put the game away. And so because they couldn't do that, to your point, David Sanders couldn't come in and make his debut earlier in the football game. It's interesting, though, too, because, I mean, Jesse Perry, who's probably going to be one of your tackles next year, assuming Lance Hurd's NFL bound, we'll see. And he's done such a fine job. But, again, he was set to open the season as Tennessee's right guard. Wendell Moy, left guard. David Sanders, right tackle. No better time to tinker and kind of get back to that if that's the direction you're going to go than right here. You got 2 weeks to do just that. On that note, any updates injury-wise on the offensive line? Perry came back into the football game. You were down there on the sideline. I was surprised that he came back in, but, I mean, it sounded like he went to the tent, and then he immediately was starting to do his warm-ups. He was going to come back into the football game.
He went to the tent. They threw that shoe off, and they rewrapped that ankle, examined the ankle, rewrapped it, got his shoe back on him, wrapped the outside of the shoe. The whole time he was asking, what's the down and distance? What's the play? Where are we at? He was trying to keep up with the game. He came out of the tent, and the trainer's making him do some warm-up stuff, some kick step, and she's wanting to make sure he can move around and do these type of things. He kept giving him the thumbs up, and then she wanted somebody to come and punch, like pass punch, so that to see if he could drive off the ankle and to see if he could take a punch, if his ankle could take a punch. They couldn't find anybody. And Jeff DeWitt is a guy who's worked on the training side for forever. I mean, forever I've traveled with this guy. And he finally had enough. And Jeff's a pretty big guy. He went over there and absolutely pass rushed and punched as hard as he could punch. Just dropped his water bottle, threw down whatever he had in his hand, back there working everything to help the trainers, and punched him like crazy. And finally, they just all looked at the trainer like, we're good. Like, I'm going. And it's time to go play there. He could not get the ankle tape fast enough. I love offensive linemen. I mean, what nobody really knew, the Aguilar touchdown was reviewed to see whether his knee hit before the ball broke the plane, which obviously it didn't. I mean, so it was a touchdown. Had that review gone the wrong way, Satterwhite would have been the center for the next play because Pendleton was in the tent getting his ankle retaped. He limped off and went straight to the tent and got his ankle retaped. In the middle of the review, they're working on it. And I'm not sure how many people maybe Tennessee knew it was a touchdown, so they didn't worry about it. But I never saw Satterwhite take a snap with anybody over there. So, obviously the review upheld the call and it was a touchdown. And then Pendleton got taped up and went back in. He never missed a snap, but he got retaped right quick because he was in some pain coming out. But to answer the guy's question, I think both those guys are going to be fine. They'll certainly get some rest for those guys this week, but I don't think it should affect anything long-term with that.
That's awesome, man. I mean, Brent Hubbs bringing the scoop down there. That's a good story. I did not know that about Pendleton. I didn't. So
it turned out it was a non-factor.
Yeah.
But Jesse Perry was like, tape me. Like, let's go. Like, let's go. I'm ready to go play.
Matthew says he should be studying physics. That's gross, but he's watching us. So Matthew, again, that's a good call. I'd much rather be listening to Brent than studying physics. That's for sure. Glad to have you here. I found one. Okay, here we go. This is from Dustin. Do you think Bishop is better at pass pro? Seemed like it last night. He seems like he's the overall better back. Starr is the flash guy. Last night was Bishop's night, man. Had the touchdown in overtime. I think it's clear that he is the better pass pro guy. I think they put him in it like the second half of that drive towards the end of the Georgia game. Starr started it. Bishop finished it. I think that's part of the reason, right? I think he's a better pass pro, and certainly he is an all-around good back. And it's interesting with Bishop, right? We've watched him since he was in 8th grade. He's a very patient runner, so he's gonna be patient, and then all of a sudden he'll find it. And just so happened he found it and hit that hole hard in the overtime period, and it was Tennessee's game-winning touchdown.
Yeah, I mean, I think the interesting decision, and again, part of open dates are about self-scout and kind of reassessment and look at things. I'm going to be really interested to see curious to see how Jarrell Sims manages this running back room into this next stretch of the season. And not just so much from the fact of, does Peyton Lewis not play much or whatever there. To me, it's more about do they stop with the every couple of series deal? Do these two backs, do they need to get a longer run to get in a rhythm and get in a groove? Like, is Deshaun Bishop better to carry 15 to 20 than he is carry 5 to 10? Same for Starr Thomas. I think that's something that you have to look at with this running back rotation to try to help the run game get going because, Eric, they just haven't run the ball well enough against conference opponents. And so you got to look at what do you need to do to make sure these backs are performing at their best. Do they need less rotation and kind of get more into a groove? I don't know. That's something I think you have to look at this open date.
Well, you absolutely have to do a self-scout because, again, to your point, against Georgia, did not run the football well. Against State, did not run the football well. And you and I were talking about it earlier today. Without the 25-yard run in overtime from Bishop against State and without the 27-yard pop in the fourth quarter against Georgia for Starr Thomas, those numbers look even worse, right? So you absolutely have to look at that. I mean, I'm a Peyton Lewis fan. We've talked about this all the time. He had a bad miss, derailed a drive, gave up a sack. Right now, I think it's a two-man show. I think it's Bishop and Starr Thomas, and I think you look at maybe extending series, not going 1-1. Whoever's hot, keep him out. I don't know what you do, but you do need to change something because the last, against quality opponents, you've not been running the football like you need to for sure. Let's see here. I found one that I really wanted to, but let's jump at this one right now. Word on Amari Jefferson at wide receiver. Why not? Tennessee's down to where Darius Jackson's out for the next couple of weeks. Travis Smith came in for a couple of plays, but right now it just doesn't feel like Amari Jefferson's a factor. Maybe he could benefit from the bye week, but right now it feels like he's not a factor in that rotation, right?
Well, look, they're playing 3 receivers. The challenge for them is they got to manage them well on the practice field and not beat them up before Saturday because those 3 guys are going to play 70 snaps a game. That's where they are. Tennessee did this in 2021. They were comfortable with 3. That's where they went. I think that's where Tennessee's going to be. That's where Tennessee's going to stay, is rotating those 3. Spot check somebody every now and then if you need to with Travis Smith, but I think no more than 4 with Darius Jackson gets back, maybe a few snaps here or there, but this is going to be a small rotation at the receiver group.
And what I like about that is we've talked about this last year. Like Brazel would go in, mess up, have a drop, run a wrong route, whatever. Confidence, would never get it back. You had more options last year. This year, it's like, hey, you muffed a punt. Who cares? Let's go. You dropped the first pass of the second half. Keep going. You're going to get more opportunities. Like you don't have a choice. And I like the way that Staley responded. I like the way Mike Matthews responded after his walk-in touchdown that he didn't catch. I like the way those guys kind of respond. It's like you don't have a choice. Like young players can't afford to be young anymore. These guys know they're going to play, so they just keep going. And I kind of like that. Hope they stay healthy. This is the one I wanted for you because you commented on it the other day. Scott says, thoughts on the live look in the command center for ACC allowed for the FSU UVA game. Personally, I love that it allows for transparency.
Yeah, I think it's fantastic. I don't think you necessarily can do it for every game all at one time, but I think it's a great move by the ACC to show how this process works. I love it. I mean, they do it every Friday night. They've done it. It was noted this week because more people watched that game because it was FSU in Virginia. It was a good football game, and there were some critical replays in that game. But I think it's wonderful because listen, every fan has a conspiracy that the officials are out to get their team, right? Yes. So how many times you hear, well, I hear the replay official graduated from school X or this, that, or the other. I mean, this allows for transparency. I think it's really cool. They should do that, for sure. And I think Ben's got a good one down here too. I know you've got some start. I'm just looking over here and glance at this one. It says there's got to be a way to automatically review penalties that take points off the board. What do you think about reviewing more play? I know every play is reviewed, but making plays like that is a challengeable play. If the head coach wants to challenge that, what do you think about bringing that element in? Because that's a huge play because it does take points off the board.
Well, that's how it is in Major League Baseball, or how it was. I mean, every home run is reviewable. Every scoring play is reviewable at the plate. I think that'd be nice. Every play that results in points, at minimum, right? I mean, there's other plays that impact the game, I think should be reviewable. Because again, Grant and I both, and we talked about it, we sat there and said, oh, that is offensive pass interference. Where's the flag? There it is. Okay. Yeah, I mean, it looked obvious. I don't know if it did for you on the field, but it looked obvious from up top. We sit there and looking at the iPad, and it's like, that ain't offensive pass interference. He didn't do anything. Like, that's a bad call. And so, and it made it more interesting, too, because the official on top of the play didn't throw the flag. It was the back judge. So, yeah, I would be for that, allowing every scoring play to be reviewable, because Tennessee got robbed of a touchdown yesterday. But, again, it's one of those, like, we all three were sitting up there in the press box like, yeah, it looks like pass interference. Oh, no, it's not. And we needed replay for that.
Well, I was on the opposite side of the play, and I was far behind it. I was 60 yards away from it probably because I was behind the play when he threw it. And you looked at it and you saw it, and you're like, yeah, that's offensive. They threw the flag like, okay, they got him for offensive PI. I thought he was going to get offensive PI in the Georgia game as well, and it didn't. So I thought, okay, they finally got him for one. And Brazel was adamant that he'd not do anything. But the coaches on the sideline for Tennessee were not just going absolutely ballistic until they saw the replay. And they're like, that's not offensive PI. And that's just a case where an official threw a flag based on what he thought he saw, but it wasn't what it was. And that's the human element for officials. And that's where the question comes in. Should that be a review? Should Josh Heupel be able to challenge that play? Yeah. And I think it's an interesting debate because, look, that went from being a touchdown to Tennessee to 1st and 25.
Yeah, 1st and 25. I was like, what play do you call here?
Yeah, I mean, it was just a killer penalty that should not have been a penalty. But I think the official just threw the flag based on what he saw, because from the vantage point I was at, and if you were kind of play side, front of that play, you looked at it and goes, oh, he knocked him down. When reality is he didn't knock him down at all. It was a bad call. The official threw the flag based on what he thought he saw, not what really happened. And he was a good ways away from it. And they had a long conference there, but the guy, the official on that side, did not override the back judge who threw the flag.
Yeah, and asked Josh Heupel about it in the postgame press conference. He said, I was given no explanation. He said that with a smile on his face, said that will be one that's interesting to go back and look at.
That's no one that's sent to the league office in the morning is what that is.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And again, you look at Joey Aguilar, who I thought certainly didn't play his best game, but was far from bad, right? Despite what the board will want to tell me what I said. You connect on that Mike Matthews. You connect on that Chris Brazzell. His 335-yard, 2-touchdown performance, counting the rushing, looks even better. I mean, looks even better. Like he could have easily thrown.
He's pushing 500 yards. Is what he's pushing.
So
and you also run them out at that point too. I think.
Yeah.
They couldn't get to that point, but they were knocking on the door of it a couple of times. Like, okay, play here. They do it, and they couldn't do it, but they were close. And that's what you have to do, as Josh Heupel likes to say. You have to do the simple things, the ordinary things at a high level. Tennessee missed a couple of those ordinary things that made this a overtime win for the Vols.
Spivey King and Spivey, the title sponsor for the Rocky Top Rewind. We thank them. This is year number 3. They've been helping us out and really do appreciate them. You can check them out at SpiveyKingandSpiveyLLP.com. You never know when you might need them, right? Might need them. They're great people, Tennessee fans. They want to help you. If you need them, get a free consultation today, 423-245-4185, 423-245-4185. Again, Spivey King and SpiveyLLP.com. Again, programming note, we will not have a Rocky Top Rewind next Sunday night because Tennessee's off this week. We will resume action 2 weeks from the night after Tennessee takes on Arkansas at home, and we'll talk about it here on the Volquest YouTube channel for the Rocky Top Rewind. Appreciate you guys for being here. Thanks so much for sending in your questions. Going to be a fun week, and we'll discuss kind of where Tennessee is right now at this point in the schedule and kind of what the SEC looks like. We'll talk about that on the Tuesday morning podcast at Volquest.com as well. Appreciate you guys for being here as always. This has been the Rocky Top Rewind.